In the next lecture, we are going to understand how these sociological perspectives affect the social institutions and how the culture of the society supports or negate the different sociological perspectives. Today, we are discussing the sociological perspectives and social institutions. As you can see on the board, the sociological perspectives are actually, basically, there are two main sociological perspectives, structuralism and interactionism. And these are called grand narratives. So in sociology, whenever they ask you a question in exams, in A-level exams of P1 or P2, they're asking you about grand narratives. So they are actually pointing you towards the structuralism or interactionism. So one focuses on the society and the other one focuses on individual actually. We are going to understand these sociological perspectives and their respective theories. And then we are going to understand the social institutions from the lens of these theories, one by one. Hi students, I'm Muhammad Ali, your sociology instructor, and in the last lecture, we tried to understand the sociological perspectives and their linkages with society, social institutions and cultures. And today we are going to go deeper into this concept and we're going to understand the sociological perspectives in a more vivid way. And we are also going to understand institutions, and then we are going to create a link between them. And here I have to tell you guys something. I have planned the future lectures in a way that they will be very much concise and they will be very much, I would say, to the point, and they will be, the duration of the videos will be very sizable, I would say, that you will be able to see them and do not get bored and all that. And I'll be actually bifurcating my longer lectures into shorter ones. Today, we are discussing the sociological perspectives and social institutions. As you can see on the board, the sociological perspectives are actually, basically, there are two main sociological perspectives, structuralism and interactionism. And these are called grand narratives. So in sociology, whenever they ask you a question in exams, in A-level exams of P1 or P2, they're asking you about grand narratives. So they are actually pointing you towards the structuralism or interactionism. So these are basically the holy grails of sociology, where the whole idea of individual and society and their interrelationship started. So one focuses on the society and the other one focuses on individual actually. That's the basic difference. So for structuralists, society is a greater concept than an individual. Society and culture matters more than the individual. And for interactionists, it is the individuals who are zoomed in, who are the central piece of the whole social system, and they are the ones who actually and eventually create all the norms, customs, because it's the human beings themselves, on the basis of their behavior and the patterns of behavior, all the social rules, all the norms, all the values are constructed, right? Okay, so I'm going to move further from structuralism and interactionism now, because in the last lecture I taught you guys about structuralism and its key features, and then interactionism and its key features. So today we are going to understand what are the structuralist theories we have in hand, right? So there are three structuralist theories that we have, which means that there are different sociologists who see the macro sociological system in three ways. This technically means they see in three ways how the society shapes the individual. So functionalists see the society from a different lens than Marxists, than feminists, and the same goes for them. So they're seeing the same society and individual relationship from a different lens, but they see the society as a macro sociological concept rather than a micro one. Okay, so they see the society as a holistic concept. For all three sociologists, the functionalists, the Marxists or feminists, all three are structuralists, which means that all three
accept that society is greater than individual. It is the society who impacts the individual. It is the society who brings about social order. It is the society, especially the post, I would say, the post modern society or the modern society, starting from the modern era, industrial revolution. It is the society who actually is characterized by social order, right? So let's begin with the end in mind. First, we'll start from functionalism. But before going to functionalism, I would like to tell you about interactionist theories as well. So, interactionist theories are symbolic interactionism, labeling theory, dramaturgical approach, my favorite one, and social exchange theory. All four theories talk about how individual interactions in different ways in a micro sociological setting creates and derives the rules, the norms, the values, and the customs of the society. Which means that according to these four theories, the social action is actually the building block of a society, and it is actually the individuals' social interactions and patterns of behavior who create and who generate, I would say, the culture, right? Next. So, as I was telling you, then we are going to understand these sociological perspectives and their respective theories, and then we are going to understand the social institutions from the lens of these theories one by one, right? So, since family, education, religion, media, and globalization, all five are the elements of society, and when they all five combine, they create society. And as individual, they are all institutions. Their job is to actually shape and socialize with individual and incept and transfer the norms and values of the society into the individual. So basically, these institutions are going to be dealt through structuralist perspective, not interactionist perspective. Okay, so when we are talking about social institutions, again, we are talking about society as an aggregate concept, as a whole. Okay, so back to the pavilion. Sociological perspectives are actually called grand narratives, and there are two grand narratives. That it does not mean that apart from these grand narratives we do not have sociological perspectives. We have postmodernism, we have social democratic theory, which I'm going to teach you in the future lectures. But these are the two grand narratives who actually started the theoretical perspective of sociology as a discipline, right? So structuralism and interactionism. So let's, for the time being, only focus on the structuralism, right? So structuralism has further three theories, sub-theories: functionalism, Marxism, and feminism. And have you noticed anything that I have written something parallel to functionalism, which is consensus, and these are actually the perspectives I'm talking about. So perspective generally, not a sociological perspective, just a perspective. So perspective can be categorized in two categories: a consensus or a conflict. So a perspective means a viewpoint, and a viewpoint can be something on which people may agree or disagree, or agree to some extent or disagree to some extent, right? So a perspective is categorized in two forms. Number one, a consensus perspective and a conflict perspective. So functionalism is a structuralist theory that deals with the consensus perspective, whereas Marxism and feminism are the conflict perspectives of structuralism, right? So to create a deeper understanding of functionalism, Marxism, and feminism, I'll give you some sentences and we'll collectively analyze, actually, rather than just feeding you on. I want you to be part of this lecture and thinking process, and let's develop the characteristics and the key features of these theories, right? So let's read these three sentences, okay? So the first sentence says, the institution of education is responsible to educate and instill skills in the individuals. The second sentence states, the institution of education incentivizes the rich class and is non-supportive to the poor class. The third sentence states, the institution of education favors males and discourage females for STEM subjects and sports. If I ask you all, the viewers and the students or the society in general, I'll get a percentage of agreement, I would say more than 95%, because the institution of education is responsible to educate and instill skills in the individuals. This statement is something that actually explains the functions of the schools, which we cannot deny about. It's something which is based on the individual thinking about individual perspective, which cannot be the same as the other one. There are schools that only enrolls the students, I won't take the names, but there are schools in this privatization system who charge extra money and charge heavy tolls. The universities, all the degree programs that are offered in universities, which are, I would say, the A-class universities, charge the highest tolls to the students, and only then they can admit. This is true that they need merit, talent, and ingenious, but they also require capital to be part of those universities or those educational institutions and all that. For example, I give you another example. People would agree upon, for example, if a person can afford a school as well as a home tutor service or an extra academy service from another teacher in their part-time other than school, and there's another student who cannot afford it. So if the one who could afford it creates better results, so the people will understand from or create an analogy that this student was able to get good marks only because he was financially supported, and that's why education system graded him well. Whereas the other student who was not able to afford extra tuitions was not able to perform well in the education, right? So this is something where people will have a disagreement with each other. People will be having a little much of ideological diaspora, right? And then the third statement is also a disagreeing statement where people have conflicting perspective with each other, which states that the institution of education favors males and discourages females for STEM subjects and sports. In traditional societies, I would say, and maybe in modern society or the postmodern societies, we can witness a plethora of examples of these cases where women are not allowed to get education of STEM subjects, science, technology, engineering, mathematics. They're not considered able to get education, the scientific or the technical or kind of some subject which requires critical thinking and decision making, because they are perceived by the traditional societies or individuals in the society as passive learners. So maybe they are the ones who are only going to do micro level jobs. They're good in micromanagement, and thus they will only go for arts, sciences, social sciences and all that. It's not the case actually, but when we say that education is responsible for creating this categorization, creating this difference between males and females, then people will be opinionated. Some will agree and some will disagree with this statement. So that's why it's a conflicting perspective as well, right? Next, so this also is a disagreeing statement, right? So this is clearly evident that this statement is a functionalist, this one is a Marxist statement, and this is a feminist statement. This is how we put things in place in sociology. So when the society is seen as functional or a way of social binding, or the way how society works as analogous with the human body, like there are different organs connected together, working together for the society and social system to thrive. If we are seeing the society from that lens, then we are functionalists. And if we see society is as a medium of creating dominance of rich class over poor, then we are Marxists. If we think that it is the rich people who actually have taken over the culture, the society, the norms, the values, and it is the poor class who actually is working according to their will, and they're the ones who actually owns the resources, and the labor class, the poor class, works on the resources and only get a very minimum share of the bread that only keeps them on the survival level, right? Then we are actually Marxists. We are seeing the society as a concept of conflict. We are seeing society as a medium of creating the differences in the rich and poor class. When we see, in the same course of manner, when we see the society as a concept of patriarchy, and when we see the society where we feel that the male participants in the society, the male individuals in the society are controlling the female individuals, the female participants of the society, and taking over their free will and taking over their decision making, telling them what to do and how to do things in the society, what is good for them, what is bad for them, then we are actually a feminist, and we are seeing the society as a concept of gender conflict, right? I think from this viewpoint, all three sub-theories of structuralism are clear. Now I'm going to jot down in detail the key features of functionalism, and also I'm going to talk about the main pioneer of this theory, Emile Durkheim, and what he says and what he has to tell us about functionalism, and how functionalism defines and explains the society. Now we are going to understand functionalism in details. We are going to see its key features. We are going to understand what analogies it uses to explain the society and social system. We are also going to understand who is the father of, I would say, functionalism, and one of the key pioneers of sociology, and what he has to tell us about functionalism. And then we'll see what are its, I would say, critiques, the criticism of functionalism. So let's quickly move to the topic. So functionalism uses a biological analogy, same as a body is a collection of different organs, and these organs collectively work together to keep the organism going. In the same course of manner, social institutions and the different organs of the society collectively work together to make the society functional and keep thriving, right? So Emile Durkheim is one of the pioneers of sociology and is the father of functionalism. He states that individual learns from biological factors and social factors, and this is actually his main contribution to the sociology. Individual does not only learn or do not only shape his environment or his social experiences based on his biological factors. Rather, it is the social factors, it's the external factors, the delta parameters that contribute to the individual's decision making, individual's social learning, and his environment as well, right? So he learns from environment as well, not only biological. So he is not something who is not some organism, not some, I would say, someone who is alien from the society. He is social himself as well, but he needs to come in contact with the society to create sense of social belonging, to create a sense of social solidarity, right? So according to Emile Durkheim, society is greater than individual. Society and culture are the most important and potent concepts in the social system. They are at the higher order. These are the ones who are going to socialize the individual according to the culture of that society. It is the society who is already out there when a human is born, and it keeps on existing even if the individual dies. So using this analogy, society is not affected, actually is not disrupted by a human being coming into that society or going out of that society, right? So society is greater than individual in that sense, and then society exists out there itself. It's actually not the society. It's not the society who actually is impressionable or changed according to the individual actions. Rather, it is society already out there who affects and who shapes the individual and their behavior and their decisions overall, right? Then culture is the cement that bonds the society as one. This is a very important concept, because according to this social glue, this cement that we have, we call it culture according to Emile Durkheim. This culture into the society, the existence of culture, as I told in my previous lecture, culture is the soul of society, right? So this phenomenon, the culture, the lifestyle, the custom, the values we are practicing in a particular society that distincts us from others is actually a connecting social force among the individuals that keeps them together, that makes them think that they belong to a larger social group, that they are not alone, right? It gives them, which is very important, I will quote this, sense of belonging to an individual, to a certain social group we call society, right? So culture is the cement that bonds the society as one. And then we see, according to Emile Durkheim, social system is characterized by a social order. So it is actually the main function of the society. It is the main function of the society that it keeps the social order intact through social institutions, right? It is the function of the society. The society is functional in a way that it maintains social order by keeping people together, having collective conscience, having social solidarity, having beliefs which are common understanding, shared values, right? So, and these are done by the social institutions, by the way, right? So again, we see it happens in 3 steps according to Emile Durkheim. So the first function of the society is socialization, as I told you before. So it is the society through social institutions like family and education tells, educate, shape, control, manage the individual, how the society works. It teaches the individual about the culture of the society itself, and when he internalizes, or he or she internalizes those concepts, then they become the part of the society and they also become functional, right? Secondly, after socialization, what happens is the individuals create a collective conscience, a social integration that brings collective consciousness, that brings people together, that give them a sense that they're not only alone, that who have these beliefs, who follow these customs, who follow these norms, right? And when they do something and which is socially accepted among the individuals, so they connect themselves to a larger group. They see themselves as a part of a bigger, a higher aggregate system, right? Then lastly, when they achieve collective consciousness, the social solidarity evolves. I would say it is near to nationalism to some degree, but social solidarity means they get a sense of belonging. For example, it's very simple. For example, if you belong to certain ethnicity or culture and you meet someone at a different place, at a different ethnicity and different culture, you will be very pleased to meet that people who belongs to the same ethnicity as you are in a foreign place, right? Because you have that social solidarity, that bond, you're sharing the common language, the implications and the implicit meanings of that culture and everything, right? So, yeah. But the problem is, every theory in sociology, like other disciplines, have critics, which actually keeps the subject going. It does not let the subject or the theory remain static, right? So whenever a theory is criticized, this means that this theory is healthy. This theory is, if a theory cannot be falsified, then it's not a good theory at all, right? So the theory of functionalism, or I would say the approach of functionalism of sociological perspective, is criticized by different other sociologists. Like Wrong says, functionalism is an over-deterministic concept. It actually places the individual as a passive learner and as an asocial being who has no understanding or no traits or no kind of attributes of socialization. Is not social at all, right? It is actually the society who is going to make him or her social at the end of the day. No, it's not like that. So wrong, to some extent, wrong is absolutely right, right? So secondly, the Marxists and the feminists, obviously, to them, since I told you, to them society itself is a concept of conflict. It exploits, according to Marxists, it exploits the classes. According to the feminists, it exploits the genders. To them, functionalism keeps the society thriving is absurd. To them, it's a very utopian concept. It does not work like that. So functionalism is actually a approach, a sub-theory of structuralism, and it tells us how society works, how society is functional, and how the different social institutions work together to make society operational or functional, right? In the next lecture, we are going to study in detail the other sociological theories of structuralism, which are Marxism and feminism. And the next lecture, then we are also going to understand that how these sociological perspectives link to social institutions. If you have any questions regarding functionalism or A-level sociology or sociology in general, you can always comment us, you can always approach to us through emails, or you can also WhatsApp us. Thank you so much.